Was the son of a preacher man, the only boy who could ever teach me. Was the son of a preacher man, yes he was, he was. Yes he was. Being good isn't always easy, no matter how hard I try. When he started sweet.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Come and tell me everything is alright.
Welcome to another showing of the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Ashley Perrian, and my co-host this week, Karen Glasser. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
We are being sponsored, it's May 9th, and we are being sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings every Sunday at Crescent City Beignets on 6th Street, a couple blocks west of Lamar. Those start around 11:30 or so, and that's every Sunday except for the third Sunday of the month, which is this upcoming week. On the 16th, we have a lecture at the Austin History Center on 9th and Guadalupe. We're in the large room there. I can't remember the exact name of it right now. But those start at 12:30. We're going to be having Thomas Van Orden speaking next week. He is the lawyer who is suing to have the Ten Commandments monument on the south lawn of the Texas State Capitol in Austin. The Ten Commandments monument there taken down. He spoke to our group about a year and a half ago, something like that, and gave us an update of what's going on then. He's coming back now next week and going to give us another lecture and just let us know where it stands right now. The monument is still up. From my understanding, all the appeals have been shot down, and as it stands, it will stay. But I believe it's being appealed. But anyway, next week, 9th and Guadalupe, the Austin History Center, starting at 12:30 on May 16th, Thomas Van Orden will be in, and he will let us know exactly what the deals are. Other things that we normally do on Monday, every Monday, we have Godless Gamers at the house of Russell Glasser. That starts around 7 o'clock or so. On Thursdays, we have Atheist Happy Hour at Antonio's Tex-Mex on the southbound of I-35, just south of 183. That starts around 7:30, 8 o'clock. And it's just a whole bunch of us sitting around a table, eating Mexican food and shooting the breeze. Every other Saturday, we have the Nonprofits Internet Audio Show, which is hosted on atheistnetwork.com, and that is every other Saturday. It's a live MP3 stream, and it's the host is Jeff D., producer Russell Glasser, and he's usually on, and I believe just whoever kind of shows up at the house that day. You at least listened in. Who was on it yesterday?
Yesterday it was Russell Glasser, Jeff D., and Dennis.
Okay, Dennis was there. Lube.
Dennis Lube. Dennis. Okay.
So that was yesterday. So the next one will be in 2 weeks
from now.
Whatever that date is. So.
I've got more. Are we done with announcements? No.
Let's see. That's Godless Gamers, Happy Hour, Saturdays, this show, Sundays. I believe that is it, yes.
Oh, that is so not it. Okay, Atheist social events are getting good this summer. Yay! Okay. The third Saturday of the month, which I believe is not this, is next Saturday, I think.
Yes, it's upcoming Saturday.
Is going to be the Atheist Potluck.
Yes.
Also at the Glasser Residence. We are also going to have an ACA day at the lake. We're going to be planning an ACA campout. There's going to be another Renaissance Festival coming up pretty soon. We're going to be having another ACA campout at the Renaissance Festival. That's up in October, but I'm already getting people signed up for it because I want to go. Let's see.
So the camping, as in not the Renfest camping, but just camping and the lake.
Camping.
We're trying to set those up, but we don't have any firm dates yet.
Set up at the lake. I'm going to be having
Okay, so nothing firm yet, but
nothing firm yet, but it will be happening real soon.
Yeah.
This is stuff coming up over the summer.
If you keep an eye on this website, atheist-community.org, there is a link there to all of our events and our calendar, and that will be updated as soon as we have information and we know exactly what's going on, when, and why. It will be up there.
And why?
Sure. You can always have reasons for things.
I don't need to have a reason.
So yeah, that's what's upcoming. Yes, the potluck this Saturday. If you go to our website, there it may be listed on there. They may not have details just yet. But if you write to the webmaster at the site, that will get somebody who knows what they're talking about, and they can get you details on exactly what's going on, when, and where it is. So.
And probably a couple more ACA movie nights coming up, too. We haven't had those as much lately, but we'll be planning some more.
Okay. All right. Cool. From our activities director.
Yay! Unofficial.
All right. Again, welcome back to the show. We are live May 9th. We are a live call-in show, and we will be getting to calls in a little while. First thing that we're going to do is go over to Karen for a little bit, who is going to talk to us and let us know about the happy side of life.
Yay, the happy side of life. Hello, kids. My name is Karen Glasser, and today I'm here to talk to you about death and dying.
Whee!
Yay! Some of you may remember me from about a year and a half or 2 years ago. I was here on the show. It was one of my first shows I was ever on. I am currently a practicing gerontological social worker. That means that I am working in a nursing home involved in the study of aging. I love my job. It's a very, very rewarding job, good place to work, good people to work with. You know, the elderly are some very, very good people with some amazing life stories.
Yeah.
But as we tend to grow old, we face a lot of issues of mortality. We face issues of death and the dying process, and how to, you know, deal with our loved ones, and how to bring closure to our life, and, you know, bring meaning to our life. Hopefully we should deal with that throughout our entire life process, but it really comes up in our face when we grow old and we start to reach the end of our lives. This is a really, really hard thing particularly for an atheist to face, because a lot of the traditions and cultures and just ways that people have learned to cope with death and dying are from a religious perspective. We think, you know, oh, we're going on to a better place. We have to prepare ourselves for the next world. We have to find our strength and faith in God. We have to, you know, prepare our, you know, memorial service, our funerals, based on the fact that after we die, we have to send our souls on to heaven, and we have to say our last regards after we die to the person that's dead and stuff like that. Atheists don't practice any of that. Atheists believe that when you die, that's it. You just kind of stop living. Your body decomposes and your mind shuts down, and you just kind of, you know, dissolve into the earth, and that's it. I mean, it sounds depressing, and I think a lot of non-believers have trouble grasping that concept, but it's not as depressing as it sounds. Because, and I have a bumper sticker on my car that people are very familiar with that says, I believe in life before death.
Yep.
When an atheist looks at life, an atheist says, I have a finite amount of time on this earth. I'm going to die. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. I can't do anything to stop it, and I'm not going to get another chance after I die. This is all I have. So the ways that I can bring meaning and purpose to my life before I die is to focus on my life, is to focus on the people around me, the things that are important to me. As we get older, and we start to deal with the end of life process, this becomes really important. And you know, there's probably most people out there are familiar with hospice these days, but there's a program called hospice. And hospice is really, it has a lot of religion involved in it, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, hospice is really when you know that you're going to die, they help you find meaning and find ways to bring that sense of purpose and that closure to your life, where they can bring your family close to you, they can bring, you know, comfort to your last days and stuff like that. Losing my momentum. Let's see. Another thing that's very important that atheists have a little bit trouble dealing with is what happens after somebody you love has died. Okay. When somebody you love has died, what a religious person will do is they'll have a funeral. This funeral, they will all stand up and say good things about the person that they loved. They will say their last goodbyes, and then they'll, you know, send the person's soul up to God or whatever. In atheism, a lot of atheists are like, well, you know what? if I had anything to say to this person, I needed to say it before they died. And now it's too late. And the person is dead, so they're not going to hear me. There is no God, so they're not going to hear me. And a lot of atheists end up dealing with death by kind of shoving it aside and ignoring it. Okay, it's too late. I missed my chance. Now they're gone. Let's move on. And that's really hard for people to deal with. They don't. So more often than not, what I've seen is that people who are atheistic don't have funerals. They don't have memorial services, and they don't really know what to do after someone has died. And I think it's really important to reinforce that one of the most important functions of a memorial service is not saying your last goodbyes to the person who has died, but getting together with other people who are mourning the loss of this person and having their company, having their consolence, getting together and remembering good things about this person's life. And also the funeral process of having an open casket and, watching this person go into the ground, is very important in coming to grips with the reality of the fact that this person hasn't moved away, hasn't, just kind of gone off to another place, but has actually died. And through coming to the reality of that, you can, move forward in the healing process. I mean, when my grandpa died, this is kind of how it worked. I hadn't seen him for about 5 years. I found out that he was going to die, and then I didn't hear anything else until after he had been cremated and buried, and there was no funeral. I didn't hear anything about the plans, and that was it. And since I hadn't seen him in 5 years anyway, it was really hard for me to kind of accept the fact that he was really dead, rather than I haven't seen him in 5 years anyway, and I'm not seeing him now, so for all I know, he could still be living in New York, doing his own thing, And it was just hard to kind of accept that and move on. Yeah. But it's really, really important to be able to have those practices. And atheists don't have a lot of rituals and customs of how we go about doing this. There is actually a very good book that we have in our ACA library that is called Funerals Without God. It's just kind of a little manual. It's a little black book, and it talks about, it gives some examples of different poems, some different readings. It talks about how you can pick someone to lead the funeral, some things you can talk about during it, and just gives a little bit of a background of why it's important to have that process. It's a really, really good book.
Okay. I guess getting a bit more general in terms of not specifically atheist death and dying, but what are some things just in general that you should be dealing with beforehand in terms of getting a will together? I mean, okay. I know it's not atheist specific, obviously, but still something.
Well, it is atheist specific. I mean, it's not completely atheist specific. It's important for everybody. But a lot of times, I mean, one way that it can be atheist specific is a lot of times, someone who is an atheist, if they don't come from an atheist family, a lot of times they've been shunned by their family, they've had friction with their family, and even though their family knows that they never believed in God, one thing that can come up is after they die, the family still kind of tries to push that religion on them, still has a funeral based on religion, based on, okay, we know that this person never believed in God, but we're still going to pray and send his soul to heaven. I believe recently in the news there was a story about someone who was a soldier who had been killed in Iraq.
Yes, I can't remember the exact name, but I think it was along the lines of Tillman, something like that.
And his brother got really mad at the memorial service that they gave and started saying things along the lines of, this person hasn't gone on to a better life, he's just dead. We're treating him like a big hero because he was a football player, but we're not acknowledging the fact that this person was a warrior. Well, I mean, that this person, wasn't religious and, still fought for whatever cause, this war is supporting.
Yeah, anyway, there were a lot of God bless yous at that.
A lot of God bless yous.
At that funeral.
And, okay, so one way that's really important to deal with this, there's a lot of paperwork that you can take care of before you die. And as young as you are, as young as I am, it's really important to try and get this paperwork down, or at least to have some really important conversations with your family. One of these is just having a will. Having a will that says, you know, when I die, this is the kind of funeral I want to have. This is the kind of things that, you know, I want taken care of. I don't want people to bury me in a plot of ground that's just going to be sacred for the rest of forever and is going to go to waste because nobody can plant anything there, nobody can build anything there. You know, it's just going to be this plot of ground where I am sitting there dead, you know. Like for me, I would like to be cremated. I'd like to have my ashes scattered somewhere beautiful where my ashes will nourish the earth, nourish the plants, you know, the plants will grow. You won't be taking up
space after you die.
Right, I won't be taking up space, you know, I will sort of be recycled, like I'll feed the plants will feed the animals will have little babies. It's sort of like, that is how I will get my immortality after I die, is I will live on through the parts of the earth that grow from me, you know?
Okay.
I was talking to a non-atheist recently, and she was like, well, so you do believe in an afterlife? I'm like, no, I mean, I will be dead. I won't be there to acknowledge that that's happening. But
there's no consciousness involved,
there's
like,
no consciousness.
I'm now a bird.
Right, yay, I'm now a bird. But it would be nice before I die to know that is all going to come of me, you know? I'm going to be recycled. And so you can have a will ahead of time. You can start it now when it's not an imminent thing. You know, a lot of people think writing a will is sort of bad luck. You know, but atheists don't believe in bad luck, so it shouldn't be a problem. But you write, you know, what kind of funeral service you want to have, what kind of music you want played, what kinds of people you want involved in it, what kinds of burial service you want to have. Have these conversations with your siblings, your friends, your parents. You know, I asked both of my parents, what do you want to happen to you after you die? I know neither of them are planning on dying anytime soon. You know, not within the next couple of decades at least. But I would like to know, on the off chance that something unexpected happens, I'd like to be able to grant their wishes. Yeah. There's other kinds of paperwork, like if you have strong feelings about how you want your end-of-life process to go, you should have a power of attorney. And a power of attorney is a legal document that says if you ever become incapable of making your own decisions, like if you slip into a coma, if you get severe Alzheimer's, you know, you're incapable of making your own decisions, you can appoint someone now, ahead of time, that you trust that can make decisions on your behalf based on what you would have wanted. And you can have something called a living will that you can sort of write down ahead of time what these things are. For example, if it's important to you that you don't want your life to be sustained inevitably, well, you don't want to be hooked up to machines, you don't want, you know, CPR or feeding tubes or respiratory machines, you know, if that stuff is things you don't want, you know, there's a lot of religious beliefs that people have that it's really important to them that, you know, God's will be granted. Yeah, either you try as hard as you can to sustain life at all costs, even if, you know, you're not even there anymore, really. You're like a vegetable, you know. But there's other religious beliefs where it says, I don't want anything done to me at all because if God wants me to die, I'll die, or whatever, you know. And these are very important things for you to have written down on paper well ahead of time, so that people will know when it comes up, and you don't wait till it's too late.
So I guess what's the difference? Living will would be enforced by a power of attorney when you're still alive. Yeah. Be it in a coma or something like that. Whereas a will only kicks in after you're actually dead.
That's right.
Okay, okay, all right.
That's right.
Okay. All right, what about, you had mentioned the burial service and such. Alternatives to that. I mean, we obviously have burial.
There's a lot of alternatives. It depends on, one thing that you can do, if you like this idea, if you like your family to be able to go, you know, visit your burial plot, you can be put into a coffin, you can be buried. In my opinion, you know, that's kind of a waste of land space. My grandfather was cremated, and his ashes were scattered on top of the ski hill in Lake Tahoe because that was his favorite place. And so if we ever want to visit the memory of my grandfather, we can go skiing in Lake Tahoe. Yay! You know? You could also, so you could be cremated. You could be buried. I personally am an organ donor. I would like to think that they can take whatever useful organs they can from me and use those to help the lives of other people. And then cremate the rest of me and scatter it somewhere beautiful. You could also donate your body to science. You know, donate your whole body. That probably means there won't necessarily be anything left to bury. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with that process.
And I think what they essentially do with that is they kind of ship you off to a university or a lab or something like that. And
yeah, my roommate just finished a cadaver class at UNM.
Exactly, yes. That's one thing. You can be taken apart by college students.
Yay!
And I believe, as kind of a middle ground between, you were saying get cremated and have your ashes spread around, or getting a burial plot, I believe what you can do in Japan, and I believe this is pretty common in Japan, is you actually get cremated, you're put in an urn, and in the mausoleum or something like that, they'll have like a wall, essentially, which is these little cabinets.
It's kind of it's the same as being buried, only it's just a smaller plot.
Yeah, except it's a plot this big.
It's a plot this big instead of a plot, you know.
Exactly, and so they can have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people in this small area, basically, and land use is just a big issue over there. So that's kind of a middle ground, perhaps between the two.
If you believe in the powers of science, you could have your body cryogenically frozen on the idea that they might ever bring you back.
Yeah. There's a couple of the people in the group who are signing up for that to happen, or at least looking into it. And it seems like a relatively smart thing to do if you can afford it. I mean, the chances of us bringing back someone right now, well, right now we don't have the technology, it ain't going to happen. But in 50 years, being able to bring back people who are currently frozen, we don't know if that's going to be able to happen. But if you bury me or cremate me, I'm not coming back under any circumstances. But if I'm frozen, there's a slight chance. Don't know how big it is, but there's some chance. And so the fact that, I could, essentially die and then get, wake up in 150 years or something like that, or 50 years, and continue on in life, that's kind of exciting.
I think it's kind of freaky myself. I plan on living the best of my life until I've kind of used it up and then dying. I'm all for the Harold and Maude thing. Just kind of get what you can out of it.
I'm done.
Yeah, and then just be done.
Yeah.
I think it's less morbid.
Well, perhaps when I'm 60, I will agree with you, but as it stands right now, there's still a lot of stuff.
Of course, I plan on being 120, but I plan on living every single day of my life as though I might not be 120.
Of course. Yeah, I as it stands right now, I have a lot more life to live.
And a big part of that, of course, and this answers the moral question that a lot of religious people don't understand about atheists is, I know I'm going to die someday. And you know what kind of immortality I want? I want to live on through my children. I want to live on through the fact that everybody I touch, everybody whose lives I touch, love me, remember me. I want to be remembered fondly for generations and generations. I mean, famous people in history, Rosa Parks, Bertrand Russell, Henry David Thoreau, Aristotle, they are immortal. They died, but they stayed immortal forever. Jesus Christ. I mean, 2,000 years later, everybody on the planet remembers who he is. He doesn't have to come back and walk the earth for people to remember that that person was alive and that person touched a lot of people's lives and made a big difference in the world. That is why I am a moral being. That is why I live a good life. I respect other people, and I try and be very careful about, doing things right. I don't go around and murder people, I mean, you can be like Hitler and you can be remembered in history forever and ever and have your immortality that way because you were like one of the most feared and hated people in history, but that's just not the way I want to go about doing it,
There are ways to be remembered, good ways and bad ways, but ways. Okay, anyway, as I was saying earlier, this is a live call-in show. We'll be getting to calls, and we can go ahead and put the number up now. And like I say, if you have any questions, comments, questions for atheists, information on this topic, we'd love to have you call in and let us know what you think about it. Another thing that we didn't really touch on all that much is, I guess, comforting others. And it's kind of a four-part thing. Before someone has died, as in, they're about to die, how can you comfort someone who is atheist or religious before they die? And then, let's say, family members, atheist and non-atheist, after they die. I can't, with any honesty, walk up to someone and say, well, they're in a better place now.
Right.
So.
And that's really hard. When something difficult has happened to me and somebody walks up to me and says, they're in a better place, or God has a plan, if anything, that makes me angry. I hate hearing that when I'm in a moment of weakness. It makes me mad. It makes me more sure of my atheism, if anything. it's very important to be there for the people you love. In fact, one of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books says, there's a quote, it's sort of a little mini poem. If you found out you were going to die tomorrow,
okay,
who would you call, what would you say, and why are you waiting? It's a really important
interesting way of putting
it,
yeah.
It's a really important thing to remember. It's very important to, I mean, obviously it's very important to be there for the people who are mourning, and a lot of people don't know how to react to people who are mourning. Their first attempt is to cheer them up, you know. Their second attempt is to, you know, give them their space, you know. You have to find out what's important to the person, what they would want, what they need. But, you know, a lot of times it's just good to be there to listen to them. Just give them a shoulder to cry on. I don't know. And, you know, working in a nursing home, I don't broadcast it that I'm an atheist. And there's a lot of people that walk up to me on a daily basis and they say things like, God bless you, and God loves you. And, you know, when I was going into this profession, they did a lot of training in college that you should take your personal beliefs and you should put them aside. You know, don't let them get in the way of how you treat other people. And for me, you know, it's really not as big of a deal as they made it out to be. If somebody walks up to me and says, God bless you, I say, oh, thank you, God bless you too. Because I know that, if anything, their intent was out of love. You know, their intent was out of respect, you know. They don't know that I don't believe in God. And knowing that might not help them, but, you know, obviously it's meaningful to them. What they just said to me was meaningful to them. So the best thing I can do is turn it around and give it back to them. God bless you.
And just take it in the spirit of what they meant was a good thing. You don't need to get into a big theological discussion about it. Just,
well, thank you very much. God loves you too. You know, if that helps you feel better about where you are in the world today, you know, then good for you. But if you don't, I mean, it can be really scary for an atheist to be facing end of life because they don't have a myth about what comes next, about what it's going to be like. They don't have any experience with what it's going to be like. And so, you know, they, you know, the way you can be there for them, you know, to comfort them is just to help them come to grips with the fact that they're coming to the end of their life. And then, of course, after somebody dies, you were talking about comforting people
after
they die.
After, yes, like the family members and such, assuming the family is religious or not religious. What, I mean, is there anything that you can really do, assuming they're religious? You can't share in that specifically. So, I mean, is there anything really that can be done other than just being there, essentially, listening?
I think being there says a lot.
Hello?
Hello?
I think we have a caller on the line. I don't think it's intentional, but...
Okay, we're getting a couple of hellos over the speaker. Sorry about that.
Okay. Technical difficulties. Anyway.
Welcome to live television.
Yay. So, and
with that...
you...
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to try and sort out technical difficulties. We're working on it. In terms of... And I assume that same line of thought would carry over, assuming you're trying to comfort someone who is religious before they die. If they just ask for comfort, it's mostly just...
Well, you know, if they are religious, it's almost easier, because you know what makes them feel better. You know that hearing things like they're in a better place, or you know, they're watching over you, or they can hear you, you know. I mean, even things like, I had a friend whose father died, and... it died in a very, very bad way. I tried, you know, she was really in a time of crisis after he died, and I took every single approach I was learning. I mean, you know, she was my practicum during that semester that I was in school. I used every approach I learned on her. And at one point, it just occurred to me that, you know, I'm not religious, but to some extent, she's spiritual. And therefore, I can use that approach to comfort her. I can say, listen, you know, you believe that your dad's spirit is there. you know, she had dreams about him. She had a lot of dreams about him. I said, why don't you try the next time you have a dream about him, try explaining to him how you feel. Try explaining to him how betrayed you feel and how hurt and how sad and how much you miss him, and just try and, you know, bring some closure to it through your dreams, because she believed that in her dreams he was coming to her, his spirit was coming to her and talking to her. You know, she believed that it wasn't just a dream, just some chemical process in your memory. She believed that it was actually you know, him trying to communicate with her, and you can use that, you know, even if that's not something I believe in. Even if I don't believe that her dad's spirit is actually coming to her, if I know that that's what she believes, then whether or not it's her dad's spirit, just going through that process might help her bring closure for herself. You know, it's harder with an atheist because you don't really know what we want to hear. You know, you don't want to hear, oh, he's in a better place. Sometimes it helps to say things like, if the person, you know, was terminally ill or chronically ill before they died, it can help to say, well, you know, they're out of pain now.
No more stress, no more
pain. They have no more stress. They had a good life. Really, to focus on the fact that this person was loved, this person had a good life, this person brought a lot of good things to the world, and, you know, served their purpose, you know, and then, you know, and then it ended in a timely manner or whatever, you know, and just dwell on the fact that it was good and now it's over, you know? Because even if an atheist doesn't believe that they're going on to a better place, an atheist can believe that they're not in pain anymore, you know? I mean, my great-grandmother died when she was 103.
Wow.
And she was independent until she was about 95. And then she lived in a nursing home for like the last 3 years of her life, and you could just see how tired she was. You could see that she wanted to die just because everything hurt. Her eyes hurt, her ears hurt, her mouth hurt, everything hurt all the time. And she had severe Alzheimer's, and she couldn't say very much, but she could say, you know, I'm just so tired, I want to go home, you know. And it was like, you know, you could tell that death is not always the worst thing that can happen. You know, sometimes death is a good end to things. Everything comes to an end. You just have to learn that that's not always a bad thing.
It's a sense of relief for a lot of people.
I mean, it's not a bad thing that things end. I mean, I don't think I would want to live forever if I had the choice. I think that I want to get as much as I can out of my life now. And then I want to quit when I'm ahead.
And that's definitely one thing that we kind of share in a sense of, since there is no idea that I'm going to have an afterlife. There is no heaven, there is no reincarnation or anything like that, and short of cryogenics, which we'll skip for right now, the fact that this is the only life that I have means that you should get off your butt and do something about it, enjoy it, and, you know, grab it and use it for all it's worth, because you're not going to get another chance. So enjoy it while you have it.
And, you know, an important part of that is just making sure that the dying person, whoever they are, is comfortable, you know? And that's another thing that hospice brings, is a lot, and this is a big ethical debate, but a lot of people are against it, but, you know, people think that physician-assisted suicide is bad. But I think it's been pretty much a proven fact that someone who's in chronic pain, once they start to take a morphine drip, their body will kind of start to shut down, and it'll sort of, that process will slow down, and morphine drips kind of will end your life, you know, slowly but comfortably. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you're in a lot of pain, and you're going to die anyway, you might as well do whatever you can to keep that person comfortable, you know, for as long as they can, for as long as it's needed. Because, you know, what's the point of being in a lot of pain for your last days?
Suffering when there's no hope that you're going to come out of it. So, all right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get on and take a couple calls right now. Again, phone number is up on your screen. Give us a call if you got any questions. We are live May 9th. We do have repeats every Tuesday, so if you're watching on a Tuesday, please don't call us. You will annoy somebody else who's using the control room. Let's go on to Alex. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man? Just here enjoying the weather. You know, it's funny, you know. But like I say, you know, I have a friend the other day. We're talking, and you know, about God and stuff, and and then all of a sudden he blurted out, you know, I don't believe in God. You know what? I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
And like, oh, you know, like, okay, I said, man, you're tripping. You know, you're silly because I mean, you know, as much as the government studies the Bible and the Ark and everything, so you think the government, as smart as they are, they will actually be wasting their time trying to study that y'all don't think.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
You know? So you're saying there's no such thing as the Bible ever happened, or it's false?
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Well, not quite that far.
The stories within the Bible.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, I have trouble believing that something that is that well known just kind of came out of thin air.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, in fact, I'm reading, and I've brought it up on other shows, a really good book called Jews, God, and History, which kind of has a timeline of history and talks about the events that were going on in the world during the time periods that various stories in the Bible happened. And it sort of brings to reality how a story like this could have come to be. For example, with Jesus Christ, at the time that Jesus Christ came to power, they were in the middle of a really, really horrible Roman Empire. Okay. With an evil dictator, and there were you know, centuries and centuries of tyranny, and just about every religion in the entire world at that time started creating stories about how there was going to be a Messiah that was going to come and save them from this evil dictator, from, you know, this evil empire that they were under. And then this guy Jesus showed up, who was very personable. He was very charismatic, and he was a great philosopher with a lot of good ideas about, loving thy fellow man.
Treat people well, why
Let's
not?
treat people well, you know, and everybody wanted, and people loved him, and they wanted him to kind of be their new king. They called him the King of the Jews, and, you know, the Roman Empire was threatened by this, and didn't want him to have this, you know, some of them were like, oh, it'll keep him busy, and the others were like, well, you know, he's going to try and overthrow you, or the people are going to try and talk him into overthrowing you. And I mean, in my opinion, most of the stories in the Bible can be traced back to some kind of historical fact. It's just that the supernatural part
it's kind of hard to believe,
It's kind of hard to believe. I mean, I think the supernatural part was thrown in to give people hope, the same way that people believe, you know, that there's got to be something after you die, because it's just too scary to believe that nothing happens after you die.
Or possibly another theory that I've heard or have an idea on is they're very possible that the stories, again, are based on fact to a certain extent. But just after being retold through oral tradition a couple hundred times, the stories gain a little bit. I mean, you can have those. I remember in kindergarten or some kind of grade school or whatever, you have everybody in class sit in a circle, and then the teacher tells the first student something. You know, here's a message. And then they whisper that to the next person. They whisper that to the next person, whisper that to the next person. By the time it goes around the class, the message has completely changed.
Yeah, right.
And so after you tell some kind of story about this, I saw Jesus, you know, walking down the street, and, you know, he gave a fish to somebody. All of a sudden, after a couple hundred years, he fed everybody in the city with you know, wine, bread, and fish. It changes after you tell it a couple hundred times. So that's, you know, I think part of it at least, too. Because none of the things in the Bible, none of the stories of Jesus were actually written down until I think it was like 50 to 100 years after he died. And so that's a lot of time, because they were under the impression that the second coming of Jesus is going to happen like next Thursday. And so they didn't bother to write anything down, because what's the point? And so after 50 years after they died, they think, well, maybe it's not going to happen so soon. Maybe we should start writing this stuff down. So, and that's when it happened. So.
Yeah, but, you know, like I was saying, you know, I mean, so you don't believe in God, right? That's what you're saying, right? I mean,
that's right.
That's right. So, I mean, do you actually think that you're going to be, you know, I'm pretty sure that you're, you know, a cool dude. You don't kill nobody. You don't, you know.
Try not to.
Yeah, you know, nothing bad. So that means, so after you pass away, God's still not going to like you, you know, because you don't believe in Him. And you know, and that's the sad part, you know, right? By being an atheist, you know, even though you're good on earth, but after you die, you know, you're still you messed up, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it kind of sounds like you're running it with the assumption that there is a God and I will be judged.
Yeah, of course there is one. And, you know.
Okay. I was under the impression that you are not religious.
Well.
You are religious?
I believe in God. You know, that's all I know.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
See,
I
the
got
thing
talked
is,
to him, you know?
I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of different versions of this, and the thing is, for us, we don't fear, well, gosh darn, it stinks that I don't believe in God, because then he's going to hate me after I die, because I don't believe in God, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, but I find myself talking to him, like, you know, like at night, like, or like if I'm, for example, when I was younger, 16, 17 years old, you know, like in the back seat of a cop car, but like, God, you know, I'm sorry, I'll never do this again, you know, if I don't go to jail, you know, that's all I read when I was younger.
Your own consciousness is pretty powerful.
Right. I mean,
your own consciousness is pretty powerful. You know, I mean, you can have these discussions with yourself essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that there's anything outside of yourself that's telling you these things.
And
Well,
I have
example, you know,
two. I mean, I have two reactions to what people say about, you know, what they call Pascal's wager. The first is, I've had a lot of Christians that say to me, well, you don't believe in God, but, you know, you've got it really good. In fact, somebody said this to me last week. They're like, you know, you've got it really good because you don't believe in God, and, you know, he loves you anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, good. You know, because like, I'm a good person, and I live my life right, and, you know, by default, I kind of follow the commandments of the Bible. I don't believe in sleeping with other people's husbands, wives, husbands, either way. I don't believe in stealing from people, killing people. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I don't do that stuff. It's not how I want to live my life. Right. So some people say, you know, you're a good person anyway, so even though you don't believe in God, you're going to go to heaven anyway. Then there's the people that say, well, it really doesn't matter that you're a good person, you're a moral person, you dedicate your, I mean, I'm a social worker, you know, you dedicate your life to the community, to making other people's lives better. Because the fact that you don't believe in God means that he's going to send you to hell and torture you forever. In that case, I don't want to believe in God, because if I can be a good and decent human being and dedicate my life to helping other people live happy lives, and God feels that because I don't accept him as my personal Lord and Savior or whatever, I'm still worthy of going to hell and suffering eternal damnation, then you know what? That is not a God I would want to believe in anyway. That is a God I would not respect at all.
But always be on the safe side, right? You know what I mean?
No.
Well, there are, again, that's going back to Pascal's wager of it's safer to believe because what if there is a God?
That's what I'm saying.
But if you take Pascal's wager from the atheist perspective, you say, okay, what if there isn't a God? What if I spend my entire life depriving myself of having fun, loving other people, living life large, living life to the full extent, and then I die having not even lived, and then it turns out there is nothing afterwards? That would be the atheist version of Pascal's wager.
But then, here's my last question. But then, how would you? But like, why would you want to believe the atheist perspective? I mean, you know, now instead of what God's perspective has been around before anybody. You know what I mean? Right? You know
I don't know, but I'm gonna have to.
That's been around like 90s, 80s, since whenever atheists been around. You know what I mean? I don't know.
No, you know, atheists have been around as long as religion has been around. But I'm going to have to respond, first of all, to some of your wording. When you ask why would you want to be an atheist, the thing is, it's not really a question of what you want. I mean, the thing is, like when I was little, and it says this on the website on my profile, but when I was little, I wanted to believe in God the same way that I wanted to believe that unicorns and fairies existed in the world. I wanted to believe it, but I just didn't. I just don't believe that there are unicorns and fairies. I believe that they were myths invented by humans. You know, like there were times in my life when I did want to believe that there was a God, but the thing is I just don't, and I can't control that. I can't just all of a sudden decide that I believe in something. Like, for example, did you ever play this game when you were a kid? If you believe hard enough, then you can fly. You stand up on a bed, you stand up on a wall, you stand up on the roof of a building, and you say, all I have to do is really believe that I can fly, and jump off this building, and I will really fly. And there's always a little part of you in your brain that says, but I don't believe that I can fly.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, and another thing. So every time in your life comes, like, where you're ever about to go and die, and you're gonna die, I don't think you're gonna call an atheist. Or, you know what I mean? I think you might say, oh, God, out of the middle of nowhere, just say, oh, God,
No atheists in foxholes. No atheists in foxholes. That is, there's always a possibility that I could have a mental breakdown and, start calling on God, please save me, I don't want to die, and stuff like that. But times of high stress in your life are not a really good time to make important decisions. So, if in my time now, are you still there?
I think
Hello?
I lost him.
Okay, that caller has gone. But anyway, I have come to the realization that there is not a God or an afterlife or anything like that when I am not in a high-stress situation, when I can think about this relatively objectively. It's not something that's personally affecting me right now. I'm not going to die, tomorrow, hopefully. And so my rational mind has come to the decision. Now, if under a time of high stress and high emotion, I start, wanting to call on God, well, that's just the high stress and the high emotion causing me to do that. That is not a good way to base your decision of reality and try and discover reality based on emotional arguments. So is it possible that, I could, be close to dying and say, God, please save me? It's possible, but I wouldn't want that to change any of my beliefs or any of my plans or anything like that, because my rational mind is still saying that, no, there's no God, there's no afterlife, I'm not going to come back, anything like that.
And, people like to use that example that, I'll be sitting here and something scary will happen. I'll go, oh my God. And people are like, there, see, you believe in God. You see, you said it. But, that's that's slang. That's just modern day language. That's what we say. It's something we've been taught to say.
Yeah.
When something scary happens to you, you've been taught to say, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a reaction. It's not because I really believe that there's a God out there that just made that happen and I'm praying to him. Yeah. It's just something you say, like any cuss word that would come out of your mouth. Yeah.
It used to be, I think, the origin of God bless you for a sneeze or something like that was when you sneeze. Either that is the devil in you, or it's an opening to where, demons can possess you.
Or
and so people are blessing
I've heard
you.
that at the moment that you sneeze, you're actually dead, because at the moment that you sneeze, everything stops, and so you say, God bless you, to bring your life back.
Bring it back, okay.
I've heard that.
Okay.
But,
regardless of what, we thought or whatever, 250 years ago, or whenever that came into being, nobody believes that now. It's now just a slang.
We know what sneezes are, and we know what they do.
Exactly. When you sneeze, it's just
slang. I'm trying to retrain myself to say something else instead, like l'chaim, which is Hebrew for to life, or Gesundheit, which is German for to your health. Or just go like this, which is sign language for sneeze.
Very graphic people.
It's basically sign language for God bless you, or whatever you say when somebody sneezes, which is kind of gross and descriptive. But anyway, I was going to say something else in reaction to what he just said, but I don't remember.
But yeah, I have a lot of those actually in my vocabulary, oh God this, and all over creation. Creation I just like, it just sounds...
What?
I just enjoy the sound of it, creation. I got to search all over creation to find, whatever it is I'm looking for.
I've never heard that before.
There is no creation.
No, but in all honesty, I pray sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't pray to God. Sometimes I'll sit there and I'll say, oh, please let me lose weight. Really, if you think about it, kind of what I'm praying to is myself. I'm praying to my own willpower to give myself the strength of whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish. Or I'm just praying out there into the universe. I say that a lot. I say, send happy thoughts into the universe for me. I don't believe that there's anybody out there that's in control.
Yeah.
But I can still hope. That can be what praying can be. I can still hope that chances and coincidences will work in my favor, and so when I pray, I'm just kind of sending hope out into the universe that this is going to go my way, You know, I'm not praying that there's actually any force that can control it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it can still send happy thoughts. Okay, full camera. There we go. All right, let's go on to our next caller, which is Robbie. How you doing today?
Hello?
Yeah, you there?
Yeah.
Robbie?
This isn't Robbie. This is someone else.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, hi.
What is your name?
Yeah, what's your name?
My name's Stan.
Okay,
Stan,
sorry about
okay,
that.
Hi.
Must have got lines mixed. What you got for us?
I just wanted to speak at you, and as I understand what you guys do and promote is your views on there being no God, and it's kind of almost like starting your own religion, and in a way you're doing exactly what you're against, which is religion, and so it's like having a new religion only without a God, and so there was a time when Paul, he came into, I think it was Athens, and he spoke to the people there, and he said, I see you have a place here where it was for the unknown God, and he told those people, I'll tell you who the unknown God is, and he proceeded to talk to them about Jesus. And so he kind of could relate to those people on that level, and I can relate to you guys, and especially to the girl here who's thought about hell, and hell being a horrible place, and how God would put you there would be a horrible God to believe in, and I agree, and but I still believe in God, and I study the Bible and found that hell isn't what he's going to do to people. He's not going to put people where they're going to burn forever in a torturous place. So that's a good thing to know, and you're going to be judged fairly. And so I think that if you looked at the Bible closer and spent more time at that, instead of what you're doing is promoting another religion with your, sacred coffee and holding up your holy bagel, and, promoting your own kind of ideas about, and that's why I put you in the realm of a religion, because you promote atheism, which is kind of a new religion.
Well, a couple reactions to that. First, the main point of, we'll start with this show specifically rather than the Atheist Community of Austin or anything like that, the group that we belong to, but the show in general. This is mostly an educational type of idea. Most people don't have a really good grasp of what atheism actually means. They've heard about it from, pop culture and what TV and what movies have to say. They've heard about it from their preacher, which is exactly not the most unbiased source you can find, and things like that on what atheists are. Atheists are people who just sit around and get really pissed off at the world, and they hate God. None of that's true. And so we're here just to say atheists are just like everybody else. We just don't believe in God. We have morals. We can be good people. We think about life. We have good reasons for not believing God rather than just, believing in God is really stupid or whatever. We have good reasons for the position that we've come to.
There's a lot, I think a very important point of it is just that, we are afraid of what we don't understand, and we tend to hate the things that we're afraid of, and therefore we hate things that we don't understand. It's happened throughout history with, black people and gay people and women and whatever, death. We fear things that we don't understand, and people don't understand atheists because they haven't, more often than not, met any. And so a part of our show is just to sit here and say, hi, I'm an atheist and I'm human too. Just to educate people on who we are and what we believe. I had a girl the other day I met at a work thing, and somehow religion came up, and she told me that she'd never met a real atheist in person. She'd only heard about them through her pastor, and she said to me, the thing I think is funny about you atheists is that you're against God, which proves that there has to be a God to be against. And I said, I never said anything about being against God. I don't believe in God, and you can't be against something you don't believe. It's like saying, well, do you believe in unicorns? No. Well, does that automatically mean that you hate them?
Yeah, you're against unicorns?
You're against unicorns? No. You just don't believe that they exist, And that's our really interesting discussion.
And also, as far as widening up a little bit as to the Atheist Community of Austin and its reason for being, I guess. A large part of it is a social thing. We have the educational thing of the internet audio show, we have the TV show, but it's mostly just a social outlet for people. A lot of people go to church just to get out of the house, to meet other people, to go out and have, you know, coffee and talk with other folks.
To find people to marry, you know?
Exactly, that type of thing. We have the Atheist Community of Austin, which is, again, we go and have a happy hour on Thursday nights. We have a gaming group that meets on Monday nights. We have just social things to do. And as far as it being a religion, if you go to church every week because you're religious, typically church means you sit there for a while, you hear stories about God or Jesus. We'll focus on that religion, obviously. You have stories about God and Jesus. You pray to God. You hear songs about God, all this kind of thing. As atheists, atheism and God rarely come up in our discussions, because when we sit down to a cup of coffee, it's like, you don't believe in God, I don't believe in God, hey, that's kind of cool. Now on to something else. It's something that brought us together, but after you go to the meeting for the first, as in, this is usually what happens. Somebody new shows up at the meeting, they want to vent because everybody in their work or their home is saying, God bless you, and they're just going into this religion and everything, and they're sick of it. And so they come to our group, they vent for the first meeting, and then that's the last we hear of it. They keep coming back, and, you know, it's just a social group now. We just have fun talking about, you know, whatever's going on in life, and religion just doesn't come up anymore. So a religion typically means that you're worshiping something, you're spending a lot of time devoted to it. Not really. So.
You know, and another part of our group, we've got the educational and the social, but another part of our group is also political. For example, after 9/11, you know, there were a lot, I mean, every religion got together and had prayer services, memorial services, that this horrible thing had happened. And a lot of people pointed their fingers at atheists as being the fault of it, even though obviously somebody did this because they thought they were going to go to heaven for doing this. You know, it was a religious motive. But we got together too because we are not religious, but we were also mortified that this had happened. We were mortified that this horrible, you know, tyranny had happened, and all these human beings had died, and so many families and loved ones were affected by it. And so we got together and we had a memorial service too. It wasn't religious, we weren't praying, but we wanted to acknowledge the fact that this had happened. We go out and, you know, we go to political rallies where we have something to say and we think that there's something really important that can be accomplished. You know, we participated in the Texas school book hearings, and we participate in the issues about the Ten Commandments and the issues about the pledge and anything that has to do with separation of church and state issues. You know, it's a very political function based on that. So those are the three main goals of the ACA.
And that's important, and I'm glad you guys stick together. And it's a great show, and you guys actually talk about things in the Bible more so than most shows that even speak about religion. And I'm against organized religion in any way. I think what we see now is the Antichrist, which is actually a false messiah, as many false religions are what was warned against in the Bible. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's kind of a different view. And last time you were on, you were talking about evidence, and you were asking what kind of evidence. Some evidence, I think, first right off the bat, is look at the calendar. I mean, Jesus must have made some impact on the world for them to start putting the date of...
Oh, and we don't deny that.
That he had an impact on the world.
Yeah, there's some question out there as to whether or not the Jesus in the Bible is actually a real person, and, you know, versus just a story or whatever. But that's kind of beside the point. Did he have a big impact on the world? Of course he did. We don't deny that. We deny the fact that he may have been the Son of God, rose from the dead, and turned water into wine, but the fact that he made an impact on the world and now there's, you know, however many millions or billions of believers in him, or the fact that, you know, we started the calendar around the time of his birth, give or take.
Right.
Yeah, so what?
And the Gospels wouldn't be the same exactly. You wouldn't expect that to be, just like in your experiment the teacher used to do about passing a message around. You know, it's not necessarily always going to be the same, and so that kind of accounts for why they're not always exactly the same.
Yeah, but
they're fairly close as far as written material, and like.
But that's a little bit different Because if the Holy Bible is supposed to be inspired by God, God should be able to get the facts straight on, was there one person there, was there 11 people there, were there 7 people there? Well, was the rock in front of the grave, or was it moved away? Was there a guard, wasn't there?
With terribly, because the guys who had it translated put it in their own stuff, so you really have to go back to the old Greek and kind of take a Greek lesson to figure anything out. And when you get down to what's really being said, it's a lot different than what you're hearing in the church's things, and it's kind of good news. Like I say, that whole thing about hell isn't there.
So if what you're saying is basically they have some problems with the Bible because it's done through translation and because it's been retold, stuff like that, it's a matter of interpretation. So how can you decide which parts you're interpreting correctly? Again, there are verses that said if your children are insolent and they disobey you, you should stone them. Why is it that we interpret that as being, well, that was a long time ago, or that was a mistake, or that doesn't apply anymore, versus don't commit adultery, and that's okay. That still applies now.
Right. I mean,
how do we
what
decide?
You were saying earlier, you had mentioned that if you look at the Bible closer, then, God wouldn't really send you to hell if you're a good person, was what you were talking about.
Yeah.
But, if you look at the Bible closer, you can find anything you want. You can find evidence to back up the fact that if you fly into the Twin Towers and kill thousands of people, you're going to go to heaven. You can find evidence to show that, if you lust after a woman in your mind, you should gouge your eyes out and chop your hands off. You can find evidence in the Bible to show that if a child questions you, you should publicly lash them. You can find whatever you want if you look for it.
So if we're going to rely on interpretation, how do you decide that all the ones that she just listed don't really apply anymore versus don't kill, don't steal, don't murder? Those are still okay. Those are still good. Well, how do you decide which is which?
Because it's all there.
Yeah.
God tells people to kill women who commit adultery.
So how do we decide which is which, basically?
You really got to use your head, and when you look at these things, you can't look at them like they were written for you, for one thing, and directed at you. They were written for people 1,000 years ago, speaking to other people. So that doesn't mean it's going to apply to you right now in our day.
And we support that thinking about it thing wholly. And basically that's where our morality comes from. We have found out that living together, that stealing from each other is a really bad idea. It promotes a lot of bad feelings. You get a lot of revenge going on. You get a lot of mistrust. And the world just kind of sucks if you start stealing things. And so we have decided through our own rational minds that stealing is bad, and so we shouldn't do that. Same with killing, same with adultery and all these other kind of things. They're just bad things to do. And so the sense of morality that somebody has should be from their own thoughts on things and how the world works and how we should live together versus God saying, thou shalt not kill.
Well,
and
again,
don't ask why, because I just said so. Which is usually what the Bible says. So.
Well, that's the only answer I could give you is the same thing. That's what the Bible says. So we're kind of left with, you have your ideas about it, and I'll have mine, and we're probably not going to change one or another either way very much. But it's good that we can discuss these things,
Absolutely.
And you have a forum, and that's great. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Well, thanks for calling. That's exactly why we have the show. Thanks all for calling.
And of course, you'll notice also that one of the main goals of the ACA one of the main things that is not a goal that we mentioned of the ACA, because it is not a goal of the ACA, is to convert people. And to proselytize and to make people join our group. And, of course, if you happen to agree with us and you happen to need a place to go, you're welcome to come to the ACA. If you like us, you come hang out with us. But, that is another way in which we are not a religion. We're not a religion because we do not attempt to convert people. We do not, it is not our mission in life to save other people. Some people, I can't speak for all atheists, some people do think that we need to convert everybody to atheists, but that's not a mission of the ACA.
A large part of the ACA is, again, education, social outreach, just so that other atheists can come meet other atheists and we can all hang out and have coffee. And that's a big part of it.
And political action.
Yeah,
And the other thing,
we're here mostly to, in the education aspect, to say here's how we view the world. And if you agree with it, great. If you don't agree with it, okay, let's talk about it. But we're not going to say, you know, you have to stop believing in God or something really bad's going to happen.
and if you have any curiosity, it's not a prerequisite to come hang out with us that you have to be an atheist. I mean,
Atheists or atheist-friendly people. It is
right. Atheists or atheist-friendly people.
It is important to say that we don't open up our meetings to theists to come and try and convert us.
Right.
Oh,
So-
see, that's kind of like me, but I don't push about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You know, we like to have people that just want to come hang out with us just
Exactly.
because we seem like friendly people.
Exactly.
And also the other thing is, you know, we hear it a lot, people try and label us as a religion. And honestly, I'm going to have to go back to the word game here. If you look up religion in the dictionary, the basic way that you define the word religion is belief in a higher power.
Usually.
But
Is a group of people who
you collectively work for an idea, which it's an idea without having a God.
Yeah.
But yet
If you want to flex the definition of religion, then you can flex the. I mean, it's just like people who try and convince people that don't believe in God that there is a God by flexing the definition of God. Well, we don't have to believe that it's.
Do you guys get nonprofit?
Huh?
Do you guys get nonprofit from the government? Any kind of nonprofit money?
No.
No? Okay, so you're not religion it.
We're not considered a religion.
Not
by
according to the
government.
government, no.
Okay.
We wouldn't mind that. If the government
So
wants
you
to
ought to
consider,
try and apply.
Yeah, if they want to give us money, we'll take it. Yeah.
if they want to consider us a nonprofit and give us money,
Yeah.
you know, they're welcome to redefine that. But as
Even if you would give up the boast of not being a religion?
Well, we've had contention about that, but it's not going to happen, so skip it.
You can't have a religion without a God. Okay.
So.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks a lot for calling. But Buddhism is considered a religion, and they technically don't have a god. Most Buddhists don't
They don't.
believe that Buddha was a god.
Right.
He was just a guy that had some
In
really
fact,
good
Buddha
ideas.
did not want to be a god.
Exactly. So they are technically a religion, but they don't have a god.
Right.
So there's some flex in the definition, but
Yeah.
but still.
But they did. I think they did kind of believe in some kind of higher power.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, they believe in reincarnation, don't they?
That sounds familiar. I'm not sure. I don't know about
There's
if
got to
all
be
of them
some
do,
kind
but
of. I don't know. I mean, they didn't necessarily believe in a god. I mean,
But yeah, I mean,
polytheism is still considered
a religion usually means some kind of devotion to something. If most definitions do involve a higher power, which obviously we don't have. If you want to start flexing, just like you said, flex the definition
Right. If
to
you want to
include us,
convince an atheist there's a god, you say, okay, that tree over there,
Then
that's God. I
typically-
believe there's a tree over there.
then typically when you start going in that direction, you can call bowling groups and Buffy fan clubs religions also. If you want to call that religion, okay, it's kind of pointless, but okay.
I believe in the higher power of chocolate.
There you go.
It is my religion. I have my own propaganda. I subscribe to it.
Yes, we
I
worship
practice
Coco.
it daily. I worship it.
All right, let's go on to Howard. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are y'all doing?
We're doing
Okay.
good.
Good show.
Thank
Y'all
you.
are not letting them run roughshod over you. That's good.
So what you got for us?
So I'm an atheist, and I just wanted to address the idea of morality and how being a moral person while being an atheist. I think that actually that's probably the truest form of morality, because if you really look at the types of things that religious people believe in, I consider a lot of it immoral.
Yes.
And you know what? It took me a while to actually say, okay, I really am an atheist. After a while, I mean, I've been thinking this since I was a kid. I was brought up as a Reformed Jew. I'm familiar with a lot of that stuff. I taught Hebrew school for a while, Sunday school, so I know quite a bit about it.
So did I.
Excuse me?
So did I.
Yeah.
Still practicing.
And it's like, but after I got into somewhere along the line, I said, I just don't believe any of this stuff. And it's basically for a long time we sort of had a live and let live kind of thing in this country, where pretty much people could believe any kind of cockamamie thing they want to believe in, and it was okay as long as they are good people.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, I think that this is no longer academic.
Yeah.
I think we've come to a point in history where a lot of this stuff is starting to come to a head, and as an atheist, it puts me in this sort of objective position in a way to be able to say, you know, what I was going to say a moment ago is when I finally said, okay, I am an atheist, it was incredibly liberating morally.
Yeah.
Because at that point I said, well, you know, there's one thing that that was a real good thing that I used to teach in Sunday school, was a story about Hillel and Shammai, the two rabbis. Mm-hmm. Right? This is, you know, in the 2nd century.
They had a great song.
You know, so there's two basic points of view or philosophies. Hillel, people have heard of Hillel House. You know, he was a nice, kind, generous kind of open person, and Shammai was real curmudgeonly, right? And this guy comes to Shammai's house and knocks on his door, and Shammai comes to the door and he says, "Teach me the Torah while I stand on one leg." And Shammai says, you know, gets his staff and runs him off and says, "I can't teach you that. I've been studying it my whole life, and I still don't know what the Torah is, you know." So he goes down to Hillel's house. He knocks on the door. He says, "Teach me the Torah while I stand on one leg." And Hillel says, "Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you." And he closes the door. That's it, right? That's the Lord's Prayer. That's you know, that's the essence of it. My take on religion is that religion is a way to contort that so you aren't ever really able to do it. The simplest, most easiest thing the hardest thing for us to do is to do unto others as we'd have them do unto us. Yeah. Right? To be kind, to be generous, to be sympathetic, to be altruistic. Yeah. You know, to all these things. But yet we construct these religions which actually prevent us from doing this. Yeah. And Christianity right now is facing this head-on in the gay issue.
Yes.
It's so obviously immoral.
Yeah.
You know, like the president is so, you know, he actually wants to change the Constitution.
Exactly.
Put his religious prejudice in there, and there's a bunch of Christians out there who think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And that sickens me, and that I consider that immoral.
Yeah.
You know, and there's lots of other stuff in the Bible. I'm not saying the Bible doesn't have wisdom and insight, because it certainly does, just like all religions. Yeah. You know, Greek mythology, you know, Viking mythology, you name it. You know, all Native American religions, they all have some wisdom. You know, obviously, like for instance, not stealing. You know, good idea if you want to have a civilization, if you want to have a cooperative people. You know, this is not something that is really worthy of a god. Yeah. You know, to come down and tell you not to steal, not to kill. Yeah. You know, this is so obvious. Yeah. You know, and it's so hard for us to do. Now we find ourselves in a war where we're actually rationalizing killing. You know, which is really, you know. And this is a Christian. People go around saying this is a Christian nation. Yeah. This is immoral to me. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm an atheist. You know, so how do I get to this position? Yeah. And I'll tell you how I get to the position, because it's not very difficult. It's right there, staring you in the face. If you stop reading the Bible and believing the mythology.
Amen.
And that's what I say to Christians out there. And I'll tell you, I'm challenging them right now through this show. I hope there's some of them watching. If you think you're a really good person and you really want, you know, don't think of yourself as a Christian. Don't think of yourself as an American. Think of yourself as a human on the planet at this point in history where we have the ability to wipe out everything. And look at where we are with the world, with the other people who believe other things besides Christianity, and where we are with that. And you have to look at yourself and say, do you really want the world to end? Because I'll tell you, you know, they do. There's a whole bunch of them who really want the world to end. Yeah. And I don't believe in prophecy.
Trying to bring around the end times.
Right. I don't believe in prophecy, but I believe in self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. And there's a lot of things, a lot of people who are doing stuff right now where it's setting it up. And I don't believe, I'll tell you, if the Big Bang comes and there really is some really nasty stuff, all the Christians are going to get killed along with all the Jews. There's not going to be the 144,000 Jews left to say, oh, shit, they were right after all, and all this stuff. There's not going to be any of that left behind crap. Everybody goes or nobody goes. And that's the way it's going to be. And I'll tell you another thing. As far as death goes, when you're dead, you're dead. Yeah. You know, you can talk about your immortality through your being memorialized or remembered by other people, which is fine. That's the way things go. But most people aren't really remembered after a generation or two, and that's the way it is. And you know, people who are remembered through history, well, there are good people and there are bad people. And if you really look at them, you know, if you look at say, you know, this great person from history, well, you really look at them, they really weren't that great. You know, they were there at the right time. They did certain things. They did bad things. They did good things, and we remember them well. You know, Aristotle had, he had some good things, but, you know, he had some mistakes, too.
Everybody's got some flaws to them, but, you know, try and change the world, and try and make it a better place than
Exactly.
than it had been if you were not there.
And that's that's the thing that people should be concentrating on instead of trying to convolute it with this belief in these crazy ass things. And the other thing that really upsets me about it, I've heard a lot of Christians call up this show where there was a guy just earlier who's basically saying what if you're wrong? Yeah. I'm doing it just because it's the Pascal's wager thing. Just in case, you might as well believe in it. It's like, what good is that? Yeah. Especially if it makes you believe in all this crazy stuff that really is counterproductive to.
And there are also a lot of religions out there that can be diametrically opposed to each other, as in Christianity. The commandment, "I am the Lord thy God; thou shalt not worship no other gods before me." So if you worship some other god in addition to that one, you're going to hell.
Right.
But if that's not the right one, then you're going to hell.
Yes.
So you can't win by worshiping them all because somebody's going to get jealous.
Yeah. Well, we certainly do have a jealous God. That certainly proves that in the Old Bible.
And it's also important, going back to what you had said earlier about religions. A lot of times people say they don't want to push it on each other, that it's just, this is what I believe, and if you believe something differently, then that's okay. We often get callers into the show saying, why can't we all just get along? Why do you have to be out there having an atheist show telling all the Christian people that they're wrong and pissing everybody off when, I just want to live my life and I just want to believe, and if you don't want to believe, well, that's fine.
Well,
I'm kind of
beyond that point now, because this is what I'm kind of saying is I'm an angry atheist now. I think actually our role in our time right now is to challenge this stuff. Because we have you have a president who's in charge of the country who's delusional as far as I'm concerned. He actually thinks he's talking to God, and people are actually willing to vote for him because they think he's talking to God. This is a sick situation. This is not the way a democracy should really. This is not reason. The founding fathers wanted us to reason. They wanted us to be rational. They didn't want us to believe fairy tales and base our lives on them.
Yeah, we're here to open up eyes.
I think actually atheists need to challenge this, and I do. If somebody comes up to me and says I don't go out and looking for it, but when they start talking religion to me, be a Christian, Jewish, whatever, I tell them what I think, and I tell them, I think you're wrong, and I think if you really are going down that path, that's an immoral thing. I challenge them, man. If somebody is against gays because of what it says in the Bible, I consider that completely immoral.
Okay.
And I'm done. Well, I'm sorry. I'll get off my soapbox now. Thanks for
absolutely. Thank you for calling into the show.
Okay. Yes. Thanks a lot for calling in. But again, going back to why can't we all just get along? If all the religious people did subscribe to that, way of living life, as in I believe and that's good and you don't believe and that's fine, then there would be no purpose for the show. There would be no need for it. A big part of this show is that people who do believe are trying to push those beliefs on other people, and that's what we have a big problem with.
Yeah, I think there was a really funny article in the news that we talked about on the show the other day, and I was kind of only half listening, so I don't really know about it much, but there's some group some Christian group that was getting proselytized to, and they got really mad. They're like, we don't want people to proselytize to us. They want, we don't want them to try and push their religions on us. What is all this pushing your religion on us stuff that's going on? And it was very funny.
Only somebody had one of those little mirrors in their purse now.
Yeah, right. Well, we said that. We said, listen, that's what we've been saying all along. We don't want you guys to proselytize to us. I'll bet you it was. I've been hearing a lot of that just in reaction to this new radio show they have going on in New York, the American with Al Franken, the show on it. That new radio station that they have that's like all liberal, and
Air America.
So many Air America. There you go. That's just got so many conservatives all shook up that we're getting out and we're saying our part. They don't want to hear any of it. Like, we've been listening to it forever. But okay, that last caller said a lot of awesome stuff, and he should totally come and be a guest on our show sometime.
Or we have the bagel shop meetings.
That's true. The bagel shop meetings. The potluck on the third Saturday. They're not bagel shops anymore, but come join us. We love having people like you.
And seriously, that is, we are open to any atheists and atheist-friendly people if they want to come down and meet other folks. We have our meeting at Crescent City Beignets on every Sunday at around 11:30. It's on 6th Street, a couple blocks west of Lamar, except for the third Sunday of the month, which is this upcoming Sunday. when we go to the Austin History Center for our lecture series, and that's at 12:30, 9th and Guadalupe. Anyway, got about 10 minutes left in the show. We'll go ahead and take a couple more callers and see what we can do.
Actually, I just wanted to follow up one more thing that last guy said. He brought up a really, really good philosopher who can kind of answer the question of why atheists have morals. Was Rabbi Hillel. Rabbi Hillel was a really good man. He did, he was very much the essence of the entire Bible is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. One of my favorite quotes of his that was a really good children's song in Hebrew school was based on this, but was if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? And I think that quote is a really good way to live your life. It's just a really good thing to base your life on.
Yeah. Yeah.
In order to be a good person and to have a life that's fulfilling.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Again, 10 minutes left. Let's go on to callers. Jessica, how you doing?
Hey, I just wanted to say kudos. It's good seeing a woman on
Thank you.
on air to get a little different point of view. But I was a Christian just because my parents were Christian,
by default.
Exactly. And then I woke up and I never really believed in the whole Bible. I read it and I just winged it so everybody would be happy, and all so lucky. But I also want to say about the religion part in atheists, I've been to y'all's meetings, and y'all don't sit there and, dog out Christians or Judaism and all that. I think that the smartest people on earth are the scientists and the atheists, because we don't believe that, there's actually a Jonah. I went to SeaWorld last week, and a friend of mine, we were just laughing because all these Christians believe that the Jonah story, that, Jonah was,
eaten by a whale.
I mean, the time that you're swallowed by a whale, you'll freak out, you'll have a heart attack, and you'll die. and the acid fluid alone in the whale will kill you. So we were at SeaWorld, and we were like, well, let's just get one of these Christians to really believe, that God will save them if say the whale, swallowed them. It was just a little kind of funny thing. But I just wanted to say, y'all keep it going, and it's just all about thinking outside the box. And any Bible or any type of man-made script book is directly made by man, and all it is a guideline and rules. It doesn't justify reality and what's right and wrong. And take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for calling. Yes, if you come to meetings before, you can come again. So, all right. Let's go to Chuck. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you guys doing today?
Pretty well.
Well, that's good. I just called in because I'm atheist as well, and sometimes it gets tiring when the people that believe in God call up, and it's like they have to preach to you or threaten you, and it just gets old hearing it every week. It's like, okay, if you have somebody's Jewish or Catholic, they're not going to try and convert each other. It's like, okay, you're Catholic, I'm Jewish, you believe the way you do, and I believe the way I do. But if you're an atheist, it's like
that's an open door to confrontation.
Yeah, it's like an open invitation to preach to me and trying to convert me, and it gets old all the time having to hear it every week. It's like, come on, people, call up, argue, discuss, bring your side, point of view, whatever, but you don't need to preach to us. You don't need to try and convert us because we believe the way we believe, probably stronger than y'all believe the way you do.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much. I was just calling into like any of these people listening out there. Don't preach to us. Yeah. Have a discussion with us. Talk heads. But don't.
Typically, a strong believer is going to go in and they're going to say, "Well, here's some evidence for Jesus. Look, we have these 500 people that saw him after he rose from the dead, and all these different little stories and things." But then at the end of the call, if you're still saying, "Nope, sorry, ain't got it," they're typically going to end with, "Well, then I hope you're right, because if you're not, you're going to go to hell."
Yep, that's what I was saying. It just gets old after a while. The preaching and the threatening. It's hey, look, we have our own beliefs and deal with it like we deal with the way you guys believe.
Yeah.
So I was just pretty much calling in to let anybody know that hey, discuss with us. We'll gladly talk, but we're not out to preach, and we don't expect that in return.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. A lot of times on the show, we do have some standard calls that we get. How can we be moral and stuff like that?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I go through.
And again, that is the point of the show, because a lot of times most of our viewers are first-time viewers. It's the first time they've seen the show, and so we do go over the same ground sometimes.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm saying. I've been watching for a few weeks now because I just moved to Austin a few months ago, and
welcome.
And I discovered this channel. I was like, all right, atheist, cool, and it seems every week it's the same, same callers calling in to preach the same stuff, and they just don't get it,
And it can be to a certain extent, but we typically view it as in if you're on the show and you're hosting or anything like that, and you start getting sick of answering the same questions, it's time to go.
It's time to reach.
Well, you guys got a lot more patience than me. I don't think I could have done it as long as you've been doing it, because it just, like I said, it's gotten on my nerves already.
Well, it's a lot of fun. I love doing the show.
Well, I'm glad you do. It's a good show. I enjoy watching it.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, y'all take care.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
It can be sort of like talking to someone with Alzheimer's or amnesia. They ask you the same question over and over again. You just have fun with it. You give them a different answer every time.
We make it up as we go along. All right.
Just kidding. I don't really do that in my nursing home.
Okay. Again, it's May 9th. We are live today. We've got about 5 minutes left in the show. So if you want to get on the air, give us a call really quick, because we ain't got too much time left. Let's go to Cliff. How you doing?
Hello. How y'all doing?
Pretty well.
How are you?
I just want to make a comment about the guy who was talking about, I guess, 3 turns ago.
Okay.
And he's mentioned something about when you die, you go where everybody else goes, or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's basically right. When you die, you're in your coffin, you're dead. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, we all go to the
That's
same
not true. We talked about that on the show, too, because you can go to the coffin, or you can get your ashes scattered somewhere, you can be cryogenically frozen. You don't always go to the same place.
Yeah, when you're dead, you're dead. That's all. It's all over with,
Well, again, that cryogenics one, possibilities, but we'll see.
Yeah.
He also mentioned something about a big bomb or big something happening, where everybody's going to die or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was kind of talking about assuming there's a nuclear war or something.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely going to be a nuclear war. There's no doubt about it. How can you have 30,000 missiles in Russia and not use them, And,
well, we haven't used them so far.
Unfortunately, everybody's going to go when that happens.
Well,
unless you're underground somewhere,
The roaches.
Really.
Well, the roaches might live. You're right, and the scorpions or something.
Yeah.
But I'm not real sure about too much of anything. I mean, I've actually thought that I was a Christian, and I still may be, but I haven't. It hasn't been proved to me in any way. My life hasn't changed or anything. It's been miserable as hell, and this is all there is to it. I mean, I believed in God all my life, but ain't nothing came good out of it, really. Yeah. But I've been miserable all my life. It's just, there's no help involved there. I mean...
Oh, that's so sad.
Huh?
How depressing.
Yeah, that's pretty sad, but I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. So I'm kind of like in between right now,
Okay.
As far as believing and non-believing and stuff,
Well, keep watching the show, and like I said, we might answer some questions for you. So.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks a lot for calling.
Bye.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
I have a great quote by Abraham Lincoln. It was something like, 90% of, Abraham Lincoln said, "You are about as happy as you make up your mind to be." Yeah. I have another quote that says, 90% of what happens to you, 90% of attitude is what happens to you, and 10% is what happens to you, 90% is how you react to it. Yeah. You can choose to be happy. I don't think that has to do with whether or not you believe in God or whether or not, the fates work in your favor.
It's a very difficult thing to realize and to practice in terms of controlling your own emotions and saying that it's not so much what happens to me, but how I deal with what happens to me. That means, I'm going to be happy or upset or whatever. I mean, you get a flat tire. Most people think that really frickin' sucks. But hey, look at it, outdoor exercise.
Hey!
Got a little bit better. So yeah, it can take a little work, but and it's not always instantaneous. But realizing that your emotions are, to a certain extent, under your control, it can be done. So you can bring yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm. And when all else fails, eat chocolate.
All right. right. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. It's been another great show. We will be back next week, Channel 10 at 4:30 to 6 o'clock.
With Jeff D.
Yes, it will be. Thank you very much, Karen, for being my co-host this week.
Thank you for having me. I'll be on again in another month.
Yes. Also, any mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. This is your day. Hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, it's been a great show. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And if you want to come meet atheist-friendly people, come down to our Crescent City Beignets, and we will see you next week.
Yay.